Hey, this is Carlos Cavallo. I've got some tips for relationships for you today. I got 7 signs that he's emotionally unavailable. This is the kind of guy you probably want to avoid. But stick around because I'll tell you how you can save it. The first sign you got to watch out for is that he never tells you how he's really feeling. Now, occasionally a well-adjusted guy will say that he just doesn't want to talk about it if he's had a long, hard day. When men are drained physically and emotionally, they don't really want to talk about things. That's just the way they work. Now, after he's gotten that rest, of course, a man should be down to reveal the hidden side of himself to his significant other. Even if he's not the most articulate guy with his emotions, don't write him off if you at least see him giving you an effort to open up. But if he absolutely refuses to open up the tiniest bit about what's bothering him, or he won't really go into detail about his emotions in general, well, then you probably got a problem. Remember that emotional trust is the most important thing a guy can feel for you, and that's going to give him what he needs to be able to open up to you. Now, move on with your life. Indicator number 2 is he's sketchy, flaky, always late, and generally unreliable. You got to look at the effort that a guy is putting in to see you, to put into the relationship in general. You got to see that he's actually doing that and that he's actually respecting your time. You don't want him being hours late on account of some lame excuse. And if he's seeing you only when it suits his schedule, well, chances are he's not quite as serious as you are. Now, if you want to know if it's time to jump ship, sign number 3 that he's emotionally unavailable is he says he's not going to get married or have kids. Now, you've probably heard this before. You got to take a man at his face value when he says that sort of thing. The guy that says, "I'm not the marrying type," is going to make it clear that he's not really into getting hitched in the future. If he is, he probably won't say anything. That's the tricky part of this, is he's not going to actually tell you if he's really gunning to get married. Remember, when a guy tells you this, you got to take it as a sign to move on, not as a challenge. A lot of women fall into that fantasy that they can be that special woman that finally got this guy to give up his bachelor ways and settle down, because it's kind of a notch in your cap. It's a trophy, right? But don't do it. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Instead, take his statement at face value and start planning your exit strategy. Sign number 4 is he complains endlessly about his past relationships. Watch out if your guy gets a kick out of trashing his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or any ex, especially when he goes into the gory details of the breakup and he paints himself as being the hapless victim of all those evil ex-girlfriends of his. Keep this in mind. A decent guy is going to admit to his own shortcomings. He'll tell you what his contribution was to how that relationship didn't work out, and you got to watch for that. If he doesn't admit any blame, well, that right there is a very bad signal. Now, if it's not meant to be, sign number 5 is, well, it's fantastic sex, which unfortunately you're mistaking as being intimacy. You know what? Compatibility in the bedroom is a great start. There's no denying that. But you still have to remember that just because he's a wizard in the sheets doesn't make him automatically a marriage candidate. Doesn't mean he's going to commit to you. Even if you're feeling that spark between the sheets, take a second to consider what kind of pattern you're seeing. Does it always feel like it's a wham bam thank you ma'am affair that, after you've done with the deed, he's not that interested in sticking around? Do you feel like his interest level goes down after he gets what he wants? Is he only concerned about the next time you guys are going to hook up and jumping back in bed, or nothing much after that? Maybe that's all he can bring to the table, and that means it's not going to increase the value in your relationship. Packing your bags yet? Sign number 6 is you feel like you're riding an emotional roller coaster with him. Being in love means feeling those butterflies, right? That excitement at the very start. And that's 90% of the reason we love getting into relationships in the first place. It's that rush that you get right at the start. There's ups and downs that go along with a relationship too, and sometimes you can get addicted to those. But then again, there's also the kind of ups and downs that only serve to raise your blood pressure and it feels like you're riding a roller coaster. If you're just enjoying the electricity you've got, well then by all means, knock yourself out. Just don't confuse it with a guy who makes you feel like garbage at any given moment, only to lift you back up to feel good after that. Because you're just going to be going through that up and down cycle that will leave you feeling really crappy. Hey, he's checked out of the relationship or he's just not going to commit. Emotional unavailability sign number 7 is he can't meet or sustain intimacy. This last one's easy because there's nothing cryptic or ambiguous about a guy who avoids intimacy outside the bedroom. Think twice if he's deliberately keeping his distance when you guys are out in the open. Let's face it, you could have a problem if he's acting like he doesn't know you in public, or he's just not there with the PDAs, right? Public displays of affection. Some guys aren't into the physical part of it, but you should be able to figure out the difference if he's all down and dirty when you're in private and isn't so much when you're out in the public. Now, there are cases where you can still crack a guy's password even if he doesn't seem like a hopeless case. You see, every man has a defense mechanism to protect himself from bad relationships. Naturally, he's going to try to avoid all that pain, which means he's going to hide out behind his love password. Now, if you know how to crack this code, if you know how to get his password to his heart, you're going to skip all the drama and form a passionate connection with him. You can do that with my Forever Yours program. It's the quickest way to get past his defenses and spend your time together with a guy building what really matters, building the connection in your relationship. If you'd like to find out more about how to get the password to his heart, go on over to datingadviceguru.com/forever. That's datingadviceguru.com/forever. And I'll be talking again soon. This is Carlos Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com.